everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, in honor of Valentine's Day, I thought I would give some enemies to lovers romance recommendations because I know that this is one of the most popular tropes that people are always looking for more books from. So I have some in this video that are a little more well known and others that I've personally never heard really talked about much online. So let's just get right into it. So the first book is Maybe This Time by Casey West. This one is definitely more on the YA side of things. It is about a girl who lives in this really small town. She works for the floral shop in the town, and they always have these sort of like Gilmore Girls-esque like events. Like they have like a fall festival and like all kinds of like 4th of July, and they're always doing different things where she's there as the florist, and she sort of meets she has like a best friend, and her best friend's dad owns a catering business, so they're always kind of together. And this chef comes in to sort of mentor her best friend's dad, and the chef is basically like, I guess, the book equivalent of Gordon Ramsay. Like, he doesn't have the best personal reputation even though he's a really good chef, and he has a son that's about their age, and the main character just kind of feels like he's, like thinks he's stuck up and like too good for everyone kind of thing. And so they sort of hate each other at the beginning, have nothing to do with each other, and then obviously progresses from there. They end up sort of falling for each other and sort of seeing where the other one's coming from kind of thing. So I thought this one was really cute. Again, definitely more on the YA side of things than some of the other recommendations I have, but still a really cute one. Next is While It Lasts by Abbi Glines. This is part of the Seabreeze series, which I 100% recommend the whole series of these. They're all great. But in particular, While It Lasts is about Cage York, who is a baseball player for a university, and he ends up getting a DUI, and to sort of like work it off so that he doesn't get expelled or like kicked off the team or whatever, he ends up working at this farm that's like the coach's brother's farm. And so he moves this farm for the summer to work there to sort of repay his like debt to society, I guess, kind of thing. And while he's there, he ends up meeting the daughter of the farm owner, and she just like hates him at the beginning, like wants nothing to do with him, thinks he's all trouble, thinks she knows guys like him and sort of things, and she knows her dad would be like extremely mad if they ever got together, and so she's just like really hates him at the beginning. And obviously he's there for the whole summer, so they start spending time together, and he starts kind of growing on her again. Similar theme always with enemies to lovers, and it goes from there. But I really like the sort of small town vibes of this one and the other one. I like that it's on a farm, so it's not like there's like other friends around all the time, and I think that sort of makes it a little more interesting as well. Next is Hit the Spot by J.Daniels. This one is probably my favorite because I think this one is the most like enemies to lovers kind of thing. This one's about a beach town. It's part of a series. There's actually 4 in the series, and this is the second one. I do recommend the first one as well. You don't have to read them in order. You can read the second one first. I actually did that. And the second one is about this like famous surfer who lives in this beach town, and he owns this surf shop with his best friend, who is the guy from the first book. And he basically, like, the whole town knows him. All these girls like book his surf lessons just to sort of be with him kind of thing. And he's like super arrogant, like knows everybody's obsessed with him, and he starts going into this restaurant where the main character in this book works, and he starts falling for her, and she just wants nothing to do with him because she knows that he's always trying to get all of the other girls. And so she just like completely hates him, doesn't want anything to do with him, but her best friend is dating his roommate, and so it's sort of, they're always kind of shoved together kind of thing, and so goes from there. And this one I think is really cute as well, with the whole like beach town setting. That's definitely one of my favorite things in romance books. The next one is Vicious by L.J. Shen. If you're into enemies to lovers at all, you've probably heard of this one. It's super popular, and this one's basically about a guy, Vicious, who is like super rich, lives in a crazy mansion, and the girl is the daughter of basically his like housekeepers, I guess. And so they live in like a tinier house on his property, but at school he like is super mean to her, like pretends he doesn't know her kind of thing, and he ends up doing something like really awful to her that sort of makes her say like, hey, I never want anything to do with him again. And then they end up years later kind of meeting up again in they're both in different positions. He's like running his own business and she's looking for a job, and so they end up kind of working together, and then it progresses from there. This one is a lot more, I think, hardcore enemies to lovers. Like, it's definitely like very much enemies in the beginning, so that's definitely interesting. Next is Bully by Penelope Douglas. I feel like this is such a standard enemies to lovers recommendation because it's like the top one that will come up if you even like Google enemies to lovers. And this is about a girl and a guy who are neighbors, and they grew up together, they were best friends, and then the guy ends up leaving for, I think it's a summer, I think it's just a summer, and when he comes back he basically doesn't talk to the girl anymore. She ends up going away for a year, I think, and then they like really aren't talking, and now they're in high school, I'm pretty sure they're in high school, and he is just like completely mean to her all the time, and she sort of isn't really interested in him, but then at the same time they just kind of like picking on each other, and then it gets to the point where they're like, okay, maybe, you know, there's a reason we like picking on each other kind of thing, and it goes from there. This one I think is really cute as well. Like I said, it's definitely one of the more popular ones, so if you've watched any of these videos you've probably heard it before. Next is Where I Belong by J.Daniels, which is another one I haven't really heard mentioned a ton online. It's about a girl, Mia, who is moving back to her hometown for the summer to spend her summer with her best friend, and she basically decides on her way to go spend her summer with her friend that she is going to lose her virginity. Like, literally on the way she stops at like a random bar and she's like, I'm going to get this over with before I go hang out with my friend, because she thinks that her friend is gonna like want to talk about that all the time, and I don't know why that's like such a big deal for her, but she is like determined that that's like all her friend's gonna want to talk about. So she stops at this random bar on the side of the road on her way to visit her friend, and just like goes home with a random guy, and she ends up finding out later, this is like totally not like spoilery because it literally says this on the synopsis, but she ends up finding out later that the guy she slept with is the brother of her best friend, who she absolutely hated as kids, and he's like convinced, I guess it's not so much enemies now, because he's like convinced that they should be together now that he slept with her, but she's still like, no, you're the same person who like drove me crazy when we were kids. And so it's more of like an enemies when they were in like childhood, and then now they're in like college age and they're a lot more open to the idea of being together, I guess. And so I think this one's really cute. Like I said, I don't see it mentioned a lot, but it is one of my personal favorites, so I thought I would include it in here. And the last one is Fallen Too Far by Abbi Glines. This is part of the Rosemary Beach series, which has like 12 books in it. The first 4 actually follow this same couple, so if you wanted to read their full story, it is 4 books long, but you can just read the first one. I believe it does end on a cliffhanger though, so you may want to get the second one. But basically this one is about a girl who has to move in with her dad, and she's basically broke. She's a college student, I'm pretty sure. She's broke. She has to go move in with her dad and his new wife, and she shows up and her dad's not there, his wife's not there, but her basically step brother is there. I don't think he's technically her step brother, because I don't think her dad has actually married this woman. I think they're just living together, even though I said wife. I'm pretty sure they're just living together. And so he's not really her stepbrother, and so she moves in and he's like a complete jerk to her. He thinks she's like trying to like freeload off him because his dad is this famous musician and he's like super rich, and so he thinks this girl is just like trying to get all this stuff from him, and he makes her like sleep in a closet and like all this like stupid stuff just to like make her miserable, and then he ends up realizing that he feels like a big jerk later on, and then things progress from there. This one is another one that I really like. Obviously, I've mentioned a million times that anything Abbi Glines writes I think is great, so of course this would make the list. So that is all of my enemies to lovers recommendations for now. I will definitely be doing another one of these videos in the future once I have read more that I can recommend. And so thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. I do new videos every single Sunday, and I will see you next time.